Let's face it, Tesla doesn't have the best reputation when it comes to build quality. I've owned 3 of them myself, and they each had their own issues. But how well built are the latest cars rolling off of the line? Has Tesla improved and tightened their tolerances? Or is it actually getting worse? Let's take a look at a brand new Model 3 to find out. Exterior. Starting on the outside, one area Tesla has traditionally struggled with is the front hood alignment. I'm sad to report that even this Model 3 suffers from this problem, as we can see that the gap on the driver's side isn't uniform with the passengers. It doesn't seem to cause a functional issue, but the hood does stick up on the driver's side some, and because it's a relatively thin piece of aluminum, you have to be very careful how you close it. Another common issue with previous Teslas has been the door alignment, including the trim pieces. On this particular car, it looks like they nailed the black trim, but the same can't be said about the door gaps themselves, as the rear driver's side door sticks out compared to where it should be. On the flip side, the door handles are now flush, which hasn't always been the case. Heading to the back, there are a handful of common issues that Tesla owners had to deal with in the olden days. Let's take a look and see what they've done with it. The redesign included putting the taillights on the liftgate versus splitting it with the body. Along with this comes a new seal design which prevents water from leaking into them, a problem that many of us probably faced. But what about the gaps? Well, right off the bat, I can tell you those are looking a lot better, including the hinge area. And you'd probably need a special tool to measure a millimeter off here or there, something most owners couldn't care less about. It's not all positive back here though. After popping open the trunk, I immediately noticed the gap between the body and the panels on the driver's side is much larger than it is on the other side. Yet another obvious build mistake is how the rubber sealing was placed around the cargo opening. You can clearly see the left side has a massive gap, while the right side is set correctly. At least the glass roof now fits into place, and the gaps where the door panel meets the A-pillar meets the front quarter panel now seem to be pretty consistent. One last call out is the paint, something that Tesla has gotten a lot of scrutiny for almost as much as anything else. I didn't immediately observe damage or contamination on this vehicle, though I know other owners have found these problems even on the latest cars. I can sum up the exterior build quality by saying Tesla has corrected some things, but there's still room for improvement. Interior. Now let's hop in and see what Tesla has done with the redesigned cabin. Not only is it a drastic look and feel improvement from my old Model 3, but Tesla took the opportunity to remove parts and change connector components to help reduce build issues. So, how did they do? I'll start by covering what are, in my opinion, the most common and obvious problems in the older models. Getting the pillar trim to connect together without gaps, or eventually breaking off the body frame. Here's an example from another Tesla of a typical but incorrect interior trim gap. The previous trim design was flimsy and used weak clips that would break off, which would cause the trim to come apart. I had this fixed in my own Model 3 a couple of times. Though they look very similar, Tesla has certainly made some upgrades here, as the B-pillar trim is much more stable, and all of the different trim pieces actually fit together the way that they should. The headliner, which previously caused rattles because it was weakly attached, also has a much stronger hold now. Oh, and it seems Tesla has finally gotten the rubber trim around the doors figured out too. They weren't applied correctly in a couple of my older cars, which had to be fixed at a service center. The new instrument panel and dashboard not only look better in my opinion, but also eliminated a few common complaints. In the previous generation, the wood veneer or the plastic accent piece never seemed to fit quite right, and the IP seemed to cause some rattles. Now, with less parts, things fit much better. This includes the glove box, which was always out of place in every other Model 3 or Y I've been in. In fact, throughout this interior, nearly everything is built to a better standard than before, but it's not perfect. The new center console has a plastic squeak to it that you can slightly hear on rough roads if the cover is fully retracted. Though the armrest is solid and doesn't seem to wobble or make noise. The other concern is the vinyl material that Tesla uses. Let's look at the seats for example. I'm not sure what it is about Tesla's vinyl that makes it more susceptible to wear, but that's been the experience that I've had in every one of them that I've owned. This car is only a couple of months old, and you can already see some wrinkles forming in the vinyl seats, along with some stitching that's starting to fray. Look at the damage to the vinyl on this year-old Model S that I took out for a drive. Is this what's in store for this Model 3 soon? You could say all vinyl is like that, but it's not. I have a 3.5-year-old ID4 with 60,000 miles on it, and the seats look almost exactly the same way they did when I drove it off the lot. I'd just like to see Tesla make their vinyl more durable. That includes the steering wheel. If you get chemicals like sunscreen or hair products on your hand, they can really degrade it quite quickly. I'd be remiss not to mention the updated design, which includes a very premium stitching on the back and solid sturdy scroll wheels on the front. Moving over to the doors, the panels seem to sit very tight on the frame, which yes, some including myself had problems with previously, and they finally make that solid thunk sound when you close them. Gone are the days of the rattling glass. All in all, while I love what Tesla has done with the interior design, including the fact that the parts fit together much better than before, my biggest concern is whether or not these materials can hold up for 5 or 10 years. Rattles and cabin noise. With poor build quality comes undesirable noises like rattles and a cabin that can be pretty loud on anything but the best paved roads. I've put a few hundred miles on this car, and here are my takeaways. No, this Model 3 wasn't completely rattle-free, but the only one I heard was fairly inconsistent and required some pretty rough pavement to show up. But what I noticed most was the cabin noise, which I measured at various highway speeds. At roughly 70 miles per hour, the decibel reader was showing 67.5 dB, which is a fantastic result. That's luxury car quiet. Be sure to check out my full review of the Tesla Model 3. Thanks for watching.